Hey, gang, on today's podcast, we're going to have Cheryl Zonkowski. She's the owner and proprietor of Catalyst Nutrition. Cheryl is one of the nation's top nutritionists, and she has trained professional athletes to special warfare, soldiers, sailors, Marines. You don't want to miss this podcast with her. She's going to give us some great insight on how to feed and fuel our bodies and our minds through proper nutrition. So check her out, and as always, hit the like button, smash that subscribe button, and stay tuned and tell a friend. You'll be glad you did.
180 and we're at the speed down to 2,500.
Yep, flying for heavy, reduce speed to 180.
Blackbox. Hey, gang, welcome back. Today, I have a repeat guest with me, a great friend, and a person that I love to hate because she makes me eat right when I'm working with her. You can tell right now I haven't been eating right. Chunky Monkey's still a thing, Cheryl.
Okay.
Miss Cheryl Zonkowski, Catalyst Nutrition. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be your frenemy.
Frenemy.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm honored that you are, because there have been times in the last couple of years I've been like, man, I really need to get back on that train again. I started once before and I quit on you.
It's okay.
Quit. I'm admitting it. I just wasn't mentally ready to commit. The food is delicious,
Thank you.
but the commitment to eating proper nutrition wasn't there with my travel schedule, and I'll make all the excuses, right? Which
Okay.
is what we do.
You have to be, that motivation for change, you have to be at that phase.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
But there was a program that I went through when I first met you. Our good friend Lou Massey referred me into a veteran program to try to dial back in kind of my military days of being fit, and but even when I was a young Marine, eating right was not in my vocabulary. But when I was 20 years old, I could eat Big Macs, French fries, shakes, and at the level and at the speed, you move in a infantry or tier 2 unit like I was in, eating right was just how many calories can I get in?
Can I get in enough for
Enough.
the volume that you're putting out? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that it works for a lot of people for a very long time.
Yeah, a lot of pro athletes will tell you that in the early days, right? Some of these athletes, like Derrick Henry, Baltimore Ravens, that guy's a machine, right? From what I've heard,
Yes.
he eats and spends over $500,000 a year, I've read, on his nutrition alone.
Yeah, it can be quite an investment.
Yeah. I probably spent that much on Chunky Monkey, so,
That is also, I'm going to
Which
buy
is-
stock and
yeah,
check
that's-
them out now that I have insider trading data.
But in all seriousness, it's great to have you back on the show, because you're doing some new things now versus just having this one unique, high-performing clientele in Navy Special Forces and Special Forces in general. You've now opened up your client base to the everyday Joe, maybe? Or
So what I would like to say is that we are redefining performance. Performance for some people is tier 1 elite national athletes, those genres. However, every human, I would like to think deep down inside, would really like to be the best version of themselves.
Sure.
So performance for one person might be 100th of a second on a tracker in a pool, or how much energy you have at the buzzer to put up that final shot, kind of a thing. But it can also be, do you have the mental capacity to want to carry on a conversation that you just picked up your kids from school because it's the first time that you've seen them in the last 8 hours, and now you want to be the best mother that you can be, the best father that you can be. When you have to take that 7 p.m. business phone call that you weren't anticipating, can you go from that broad focus to that dialed in, highly intellectual, let's have a conversation and get deep in the weeds so that we can line out all of our ducks in a row for the next day.
So what you're saying to me is what we put in our bodies can
Fuel.
Yeah, the
Yes.
cognizant, all of that range of not only looking good, but feeling good and mentally sharp.
Yes. What fuels you?
Yeah, yeah, chunky monkey.
That's okay.
Which
Imagine the
sometimes I'm a little
possibilities.
slow, sometimes I'm a little lethargic. I feel like a milkshake moving around. But
Yeah.
no, in all seriousness, when I followed your routine, there was a 4-week routine that you had me on, and I went into this program at 255 pounds. You put me on a DEXA scan, which tell people what a DEXA scan is.
So assessing body composition has multiple methodologies. DEXA stands for dual X-ray absorptometry, and it is an X-ray. You're exposed to very low dose radiation, and you lie on a table, and the scan arm moves above your body in a long, slow motion from head all the way through toe, and the X-ray penetrates tissue based on tissue density or thickness. So it moves the slowest through bone, being the most dense, moderate speed through muscle, skin, and organs. So that is categorized as a fat-free mass, metabolically active tissue, and then it moves the slowest through fat mass. So then it prints out this lovely stoplight-colored image of your body and tells us how much of you is bone, how much of you is metabolically active tissue, muscle, skin, and organs, and then how much of you is fat mass.
For some reason, it took all day to measure me.
That is not true. It's
wasn't?
4 to 6 minutes.
Okay. It felt like an eternity. I laid on that table at the beginning, but at the end,
And there was no
after-
picture on the ceiling
was-
either,
yeah.
so you gotta use your imagination.
Right. But it, as a personal testimony, for me, when I showed up, the diet was the biggest part for me. Like, that was the biggest mental change, was like, okay, she's introducing this food to me, and it's delicious, and we'll show some pictures today and have your website up. But it was a different set of taste buds, I would have to say, that I kind of had to get used to. That I've got this sweet tooth, right? And you hear people talk about the sweet tooth.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm like carbon rich. I want to suck down the carbs. From sweet tarts to ice cream, you name it. That was me. But I had to make this mental shift to say, okay, if I really want this, the visceral fat, which the DEXA scan measured, and I was a little obese there in that category.
There was a little extra.
There was a little extra,
There was a little chunk on the monkey.
That's right.
Yes.
And so 4 weeks later, though, I think I lost 2 pounds of visceral fat, but I went from like 255 back to like 229.
Which is a phenomenal rate of change.
Huge, yeah. And I realized that. But my energy went up, my fitness went up, VO2 max, all those measurements just massively improved because I wasn't carrying that anchor around.
Yeah.
I've heard it said before that 80% of the way you look is not the gym. It's what you do before and after the gym, how you feel your body. Is that, as a dietitian, is that true?
So I would say if you're comparing the movement piece to the fueling piece, and they're the only two pieces of the puzzle, I would say that that's accurate. Unless, like you said, you're infantry, in which case your movement is much higher percentage.
Yeah.
I actually like to look at it a little threefold. So LGN is what I call it, looking good naked. We anti-inflammatory, promoting hormone, decreasing cortisol, all of the things. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to look better in the mirror when they get out of the shower in the morning.
Yeah.
So a little LGN equation, if that's 100% of your genetic potential, I would say that 60% of that is sleep.
Yeah.
And that's coming from the food lady.
Wow.
So how effectively you fall asleep, stay asleep, spend time in REM and deep phases of sleep. With the 40% that's left, I would say 30% of it is the fueling and the nutrition, and then the remaining 10% is the movement, activities, lifting, strength conditioning. Yes.
Interesting. Well, we're going to do something real quick and break protocol with what you would normally do in life, which is not have any alcohol until after 5 p.m., right? We're shooting this podcast before 10 a.m., and we're going to have a little toast here, but I always do this. You're aware that we like to toast our vets, which has been a big part of your community for years now.
Absolutely.
So after the toast, let's go back and talk about early days, Cheryl,
Okay.
your education, your background, and then we'll get into Catalyst Nutrition.
Wonderful.
But before we do that, just like to throw one back for our vets, those who are still forward deployed, and we're coming up on Veterans Day soon, right?
Mhm.
And you know what's not more important, but equally important, maybe in my mind's eye, it's more important. Do you know what November 10th is?
Do not.
What? I'm hurt.
Is it your birthday?
It is my birthday. It's
Happy.
me. It's me and a few 100,000 Marines'
Oh.
birthday. Marine Corps birthday, November 10th. That's a big thing for Marines.
Well, that's fair.
So,
I was part of a different segment of the military, predominantly, so I'm sorry.
and that was,
The Navy.
yeah.
I know.
Well,
I'm
you
just
know,
being transparent. I just,
the Marines are Department of the Navy,
Yes.
the men's department. So,
Noted.
just, Lou, you heard it here. Yeah, all my buddies at the
I'm
teams.
pleading the fifth on this.
Yeah, the men's department. So, yeah, Lou's like, man, why do I have all these Marines in my life now that I hang out with? And he was, a sailor for 33 years. And so it's just because Marines are the best. So November 10th,
November
for
10th.
those of you who want to know, Marine Corps birthday.
Okay. Happy birthday.
So I'm going to have a slice of cake, maybe some chunky monkey on the 10th.
A la mode, have to.
Yeah. So cheers to all of our vets and those that have served, and even the families who serve at home.
Absolutely.
So important. So cheers to you.
Cheers. Zdravia.
Yeah, there you go.
Polish.
And to that point, 4 branches, those who watch the show faithfully, we're drinking 4 branches, Cheryl, until May of 2026.
Okay.
Because my buddy Harold Underdown, who's one of the founders of 4 branches, did you serve in the Navy?
No, I was a GS.
You were a GS.
Yes.
We might still let you sign the
Oh,
the
that would
board
be an
here.
honor.
That would be awesome. Cody, if we can find the little silver pen, we'll honorarily allow Miss Cheryl Zonkowski to sign the 4 branches. And we actually will give this, we're going to auction it off at our summer event we do as a company, and we'll have you out. Maybe we'll have you bring some very nutritious but great tasting food.
I would say that the protein collagen pudding competes with Chunky Monkey.
Man, I haven't had that yet. You should have brought some today.
We should do a challenge.
Yeah, we could have had, yeah. We'll do that. We'll do another podcast just
Love it.
to have me eat food.
Sounds great.
But, yeah, thanks for 4 branches for
Thank you.
coming out. We'll have you do this on air.
Oh, okay.
So sign anywhere you like. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That will probably make that at auction go for at least a few $1,000. So Cheryl Zonkowski.
Infamous.
Yeah, the infamous.
Thousands of people's frenemy. It's a love-hate relationship. I'm okay with
Yeah.
it. I sleep well at night.
But they keep coming back,
They
right?
do.
So something must be right. So how in the world does a person become a nutrition? I mean, what was the burning desire for you to want to do this? You had a very cool job. We were talking off air. Spoiler alert, you're a Gator,
Yeah.
so Florida Gators.
Yes.
And you were there at a really interesting time where they were really good at football. And so take us back a little bit, maybe high school Cheryl, all the way up through where you are today. What got you into nutrition?
So I was predominantly a soccer player in high school. Grew up in Jersey. Soccer is very popular for young female athletes in New Jersey. Loved soccer. Also love eating. New Jersey is one of those meccas where the towns all run together, so you have pockets of amazing different ethnicities. So you have very genuine, like home cooked,
Yeah.
food.
And Zonkowski, by the way, is that Polish?
Polish, hence Nostrovia.
Yeah.
And my mother's maiden name is Grabowski, so
Wow.
a lot of Polish, yes.
A lot of skis there.
A lot of skis, a lot of skiing, yes. But the majority of our family gatherings were built around holidays and food. So bringing people together, it had a very like deep-rooted cultural and family. Like we ate dinner together every night, 7 days a week, until we got to like high school and there were athletic events and we were kind of all over the place. But still, strive for it most days. So I was the black sheep who went away to school at Florida. My entire family still to this day is in New Jersey. I'm the only one who left. So I was that weirdo. And at Florida, I was pre-med. I knew that I wanted to help people. Like it was just, my mother was an amazing caregiver, and that's how I wanted to follow my career and my calling. And through odd jobs, honestly, I had a conversation with an athletic trainer while I was working intramural sports, and they said, "Do you know that the Athletic Association has a woman who is the team's dietitian?" And I was like, I'm sorry, you mean to tell me that there's a profession where you consult with high-level athletes and teach them about food? I was like, those are my two favorite things on this entire planet. I was like, that's a dream. I'd do it for free. So I hunted this woman down on the school directory, and I met with her, and it's my mentor, Michelle Rockwell, who is a phenomenal, not only human, but practitioner. And I had a 30-minute meeting with her, and by the end of the meeting, she said, "Well, what are your thoughts? What do you think you want to do?" And I said, "I want to be you." And I grew up. I left her office. I changed my major. I became her undergraduate volunteer. I became her graduate students to get my master's degree in exercise physiology or human performance, because my undergraduate degree was in food science, human nutrition, and psychology.
Wow.
Yes, super nerd. So my undergraduate career was the Spurrier years, if we're referencing football. Yeah. Billy Donovan, from a basketball standpoint, was there throughout. My graduate internship was the Ron Zook little era. And then I was fortunate enough to do my dietetic internship, which is required, and then you pass an exam to become a registered dietitian, which you then have to maintain that credential like any other practitioner with continuing education units. And they invited me back as the director because Michelle retired. So I literally became her about 4 years later.
Everything you envisioned.
Yes, manifested itself. Yeah. I'm very stubborn. It's one of those things. I'm a very passionate human, which most people know within 5 minutes of meeting me. So yes, I was there for the Urban Meyer years. Very, very football oriented. And we built up the performance nutrition department to I had an assistant coordinator. We had 850 student athletes to support. We ended up having two graduate volunteers, one paid intern, and then probably a small army of undergraduate volunteers by the time I left. And that's the direction that a lot of programs have gone now on the collegiate level, is that almost one team, or some of the smaller teams may have a dietitian, may have multiple smaller teams, but like football has its own performance dietitian now.
Yeah.
Versus having to split up 850 student athletes.
So it just came to me. So we were talking off camera again about some of the athletes that you kind of grew up in your early career with. And we talked about Tim Tebow, and you talked about a couple of linemen friends that are still friends today. Yeah. You can give them a shout out if you like. But there was a local kid, Percy Harvey.
Yes.
Was Percy there when
he was there when I was there?
That is an amazing athlete, that guy.
Very talented.
Yeah. Did he eat well, or did he just like Big Macs, cheeseburgers, kind of?
He was of the belief that what served him to become a Gator served him throughout his Gator career. So he was not open to the concept of education and fueling, as some of the other athletes were.
Wow. So that was just natural, yes, God-given genetics that fueled him.
Now, to be fair, he had some underlying injuries throughout his career at Florida and in the pros that, if you honestly ask me, I think if he fueled and hydrated better, he probably would not have had as many repeats or as severe occurrences. But, we full circle that motivation for change piece.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the literature and the information says and how strong the sales pitch, sometimes people are just not ready.
So All right, so now I'm going to pull a science question on you.
Okay.
What observation do you have to say that you could make a statement like that about Percy?
The statement isn't about Percy per se.
Not that I'm defending I don't know Percy personally.
He was a
so-
very nice gentleman.
Yeah.
You know,
Just an amazing athlete. I had massive respect for what that guy could do on the
absolutely.
field. But I'm just playing the devil's advocate here.
Absolutely.
Because I start feeling a little defensive about my love for Chunky Monkey and eating horribly. And then when I'm being told that if I eat better, I could probably perform better, could think better. And I'm like, man, the conviction is there. As a preacher's kid, I'm feeling that. I'm like, all right, so in all seriousness, is there science that you can say with a professional athlete who's just got the genetics? A guy that I think of right now, we were talking about pre-show, is Derrick Henry at the Baltimore Ravens. And he is said to spend like $500,000 a year on fueling his body alone, like the things that he's putting in his body. And that guy hasn't had a ton of injuries. So when you were at Florida and you were fueling these athletes, could you scientifically look at who was following a program, sleep, weight room, diet, and could you track that and prove that to coaches?
So to be fair, if you take if you do the math on the era that I was there, the technology that we have today is not the same as the technology
Okay.
that we had
Fair enough.
20 years ago. Not to date myself. Florida was very cutting edge in a lot of capacities. For example, during two-a-days, the athletes, we'll stick with the football analogy, they were using core temp tabs. So they were swallowing a pill so that the trainers could go behind them in all of their gear and get their internal temperatures during practices, because we were doing two-a-day training in August.
Wow.
So they knew who was getting close to needing a dump in the cold plunge kind of a deal. From the nutrition standpoint, and this is why sometimes it is hard to motivate change in individuals. To my knowledge, at this point in time, today, there is still no direct correlation between if you eat this, it results in this, because humans are multifactorial. You could your schedule could be so crazy that you're only sleeping for 4 hours a night, even though your nutrition is intact and your strength and conditioning is impeccable. So if we go back to that original equation, your 40% potential could be at 40%. But if your sleep, which has a potential for 60, is only at 30,
Yeah.
there's just so many variables there that it's hard to tease out one independent, especially with a collegiate athlete.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to levels of inflammation, my career has led me to naval special warfare, and even in the collegiate space now, they are doing a much better job at collecting biomarkers on athletes, as we started to do with some of the tier 1 entities that I supported. And when you're looking at markers, yes, if you leave everything the same and only change diet, you will see changes in inflammatory markers, in cholesterol markers, in vitamin D, which is a prohormone, in omega-3 markers, which act as a natural anti-inflammatory, not only neurocognitively, but cardiovascularly. So, yes, there is literature that will prove that if you fuel more appropriately, you have less systemic inflammation. And less systemic inflammation will then decrease the likelihood of you having certain injuries. Now, obviously, if you have an impact injury, hard to prevent.
Right.
But some musculoskeletal injuries, likelihood of disease, number one, manifesting itself, and two, severity in which it manifests itself are definitely correlated to the way in which you fuel yourself over time.
So again, you're preaching to me.
I'm sorry.
When I was in this program, I don't know if you remember or not, but I had a pretty massive hamstring tear. And that was probably from inflammation, right? Because it was at the beginning of my training where I would have been a little more inflamed than I was at the end. Dramatically so. Which a shout out to our friend Luke Meacham, who was my coach during that time, who was just on the show
Wonderful.
a few weeks ago.
He's a fabulous human as well.
Yeah, he is. and super great athlete. I mean,
Absolutely.
and takes fueling his body very, very seriously.
He does. And he is a Catalyst believer as well.
Amen. That's awesome. He'll be excited to hear and watch the show that we're doing today. So, yeah, during that period, I can think back when I pulled that hamstring and tore it, and it popped, and I was like, "Ooh, what was that?"
That's not good.
Yeah. And to his chagrin and capabilities, I still lost 20 plus pounds, mainly because of just eating better.
If I may, the 20 plus pounds that you lost were not muscle mass.
Right.
So that's an important point to differentiate.
Point.
So despite the injury, and then you having to change your strength and conditioning program in response to said injury, because in part, not exclusively, because your fueling was so dialed in, yes, you saw very dramatic outcomes without sacrificing musculature.
Yeah.
That's a
Huge.
big, yeah.
Huge. So it works. Eating right, I can be a testament to that. That when I eat properly, and you're going to teach us about that today, the body responds, no matter who you are.
Correct.
You can't change the science, right?
No.
Now, a person's need for how much protein they eat, how much fat's in their diet, how much carbs. We were just talking about, like, my granddaughters this morning, who have this. Two of my granddaughters have this protein disorder called GA1, and they can't intake protein without it harming them.
Mm-hmm.
So every human being different, when you're dialing in a person's meal plan, what's entailed in that? How do you get there?
So, one, I genuinely appreciate you bringing up and acknowledging that that nutrition and fueling are not one size fits all. And I think that's extremely important, because there is so much out there in social media and influencers and information at the touch of a button nowadays, that just because something worked for one person, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will work or is necessarily applicable to you and could potentially be harmful. And that is true not only in the fueling, big picture food genre, but especially in the supplement related genre, which is another whole animal in and of itself. But one of the things that makes Catalyst different than a lot of places is it is one of the few entities in the entire country, as far as I'm aware, that has not only a registered dietitian and a performance dietitian who was for over a decade a certified strength and conditioning specialist, similar to the credential that Luke had, that specifically programs the meals for each client that participates in a membership. So a membership includes an individual sitting down and meeting with me, and it's the matrix of their expertise, knowing themselves and living in their bodies for however many years it is that they are old, and me being a super nerd. And our powers combined, we take biomarkers into account, blood work. If they don't have them, we can order them. We take body composition into account, which you've brought up a couple of times today. So to that protein-specific point, if we have body composition measurements, we can take that metabolically active tissue, and that is a much better indicator of where we should start protein needs than overall body weight, because you can have a 200-pound individual who is very lean and has 180 pounds of metabolically active tissue, and you can have a 200-pound individual who is not very lean and has only 120 pounds of metabolically active tissue, and their protein needs are therefore not the same. To the fat and carbohydrate question, those two, once we establish protein, we seesaw those based on whether we're focusing on performance, what the amount of movement, activity, training, output is during the day, to fit the carbohydrate mold to that specific amount of movement and activity, and then the rest are healthy and anti-inflammatory fats. One of the things that we haven't gotten to yet today is the relationship between the gut, brain, immune axis. And how healthy your gut is has a direct relationship, according to the scientific literature, with not only how cognitively pointed you are at memory, solidification, all of those things, but also how strong your immune system is. So if you always eat the, forgive me, but we're gonna go with the rainbow color wheel here. But if you always eat yellow, tan, white, brown, those are all relatively non-vibrant colors.
Damn it.
You're going to see losses in
Yeah.
healthy gut flora, bacteria, not containing a lot of pre and probiotics, and therefore absorption rates are going to change, which will then, over time, influence your cognition, memory, solidification, etc., in addition to how strong your immune system is. So making sure, to simplify things, you're getting a rainbow of colors on your plate, and that's where fiber, though it's not a macronutrient, I think fiber is one of the most underrated and less talked about important factors, because not only is it huge from a gut health bacterial standpoint, but also from a cardiovascular standpoint in helping with cholesterol and lipid management, and just in general helping with bowel movement function and circulatory system efficiency. So it gets so deep.
So
and
I should be
complex.
good with my frosted mini wheats then, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can't get me to be serious. I'll be serious about this. But you're when you say fiber, what types of fiber should a person be introducing in their diet?
So both soluble and insoluble fiber have different benefits. As you mentioned, one of the things that Catalyst makes delicious is an almond butter oatmeal that we have every morning.
One of my favorites.
That contains both soluble and insoluble fiber. But just from a standpoint of where to start, anybody who has a family history of high cholesterol or lipid and cholesterol related concerns should probably start at a minimum of 35 grams of fiber per day. So that's one of many reasons that fruit, vegetables, and whole grains are so important, because they're what's going to get you that 35 plus grams of fiber per day.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is when I was going through the program, one of the things I kept saying to you and kind of whining about was, Cheryl, I can't eat all this food. And you were saying to me, Kenny, we've got to recharge your metabolism again. Your metabolism has slowed down, which is why this food you're feeling full so quickly is your metabolism hasn't caught up to your activity yet. Am I saying that right? And
so you're bringing up a couple different points. The first one that I want to talk about, and you brought it up earlier, is the sugar cravings.
yeah, that's me.
So whenever
I'm a sugar-coated sugar cube here. Really
which
sweet.
just makes you so sweet.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
right.
So whenever you ingest carbohydrates, there are sensors around your gastrointestinal tract that signal the production of serotonin and dopamine, which make you feel happy, comfortable, relaxed.
Chill.
all
Way
the
too
things.
chill, right?
Yes. Yes. So when you consistently require a high level of those neurochemicals, every time you start to drop, your body's like, where's the rest? Where's the rest? Which is why you keep going back and having those quote unquote cravings to reinstate what your body assumes is normal. When you pair things appropriately, so that's the combination carbohydrate, healthy fats, fiber, protein needs, your body's going to produce the amount of serotonin and dopamine relative to that new amount of carbohydrates, which is down here in comparison. So the cravings, if you have the motivation for change and can dial it in consistently for probably a good 7 to 10, some people maybe even 14 days, because oftentimes we forget. Well, I've been eating a certain way for decades. Oh my God, I'm trying this new thing. It doesn't work in 5 minutes. Forget this. I'm going back to what I know.
Right.
It takes time. Whether you want to call it self-control or self-discipline or motivation for change, it's typically a good, consistent 2-week turnaround to get your body to adjust to those new levels of neurochemicals.
I've heard on the psychology front, and with a background in psychology, you can affirm this or deny it. But what I've read many times is that to create a new habit, it literally takes 90 days just to get that habit to be part of your routine. Like it's a muscle movement, involuntary that you're doing it. And so, like with food, I could see where that could be a problem, and I can attest to this for me personally that if I'm on the go or I slept too late or a meeting went over, and now I've got to get into this routine of eating a certain way. That's where the meal prep can come in really, really handy.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you get the person in the meal prep when you're kind of pacifying their way through it by helping them that way? What do you recommend a person stay, or how long they stay in that program of where you're supplying the food and supplying the habit to where they can transition to repeating what you're doing on their own?
So again, there is no one size fits all. If
Okay.
someone goes all in and is consistent, so in example with regard to the program that we were talking about earlier, it was only 26 days long and you saw those phenomenal results, but
Yeah.
you were eating all meals, all snacks in a bubble for 21 days.
Right.
So the person's initial level of investment, and it doesn't have to be monetary, but their buy-in level will then dictate how long some of those initial effects become visible. So if we have somebody who meets with me, gets their membership, and starts customized meals, I typically say if you could do this for at least 1 to 2 weeks, all in, not only will you feel change, which typically only takes 3 to 5 days, as far as your hunger and satiety cues starting to adjust, meaning you start to become more hungry earlier on in the day, which is what you alluded to with that last question that you asked
Right.
me. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, Cheryl, I'm so good all day. I eat, avocado toast with an egg, and I have chicken and some salad. But then this crazy thing happens when I get home. I'm absolutely starving. And it's like, well, no kidding. Because you were so restrictive at breakfast and so restrictive at lunch that you're starving at dinner because your body's like, where's all of the energy that I just expensed throughout the
Right.
day? So reprogramming the person to help them not only acknowledge the hunger and satiety cues, but then to follow them. Because if you skip breakfast and lunch for a decade, you're not naturally going to be hungry for breakfast within the first couple of days. So that feeds into that, but Cheryl, I'm not hungry, but Cheryl, I'm not hungry. And don't get me wrong, time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting absolutely are effective and have a place. But if you work out first thing in the morning, which a lot of my clients do, because if they tell me if I don't work out first thing, the workout doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. Right.
But if you work out and then you stay in a fasted state for 4 hours until lunch, you leave your body in a catabolic state of breakdown. So that when you try to get after it again the next morning, you start to feel lethargic. You're not progressing, whether it's in endurance or in weight the way that you want to, because your state of breakdown is hours and hours long versus breaking your fast immediately post-workout with whether it's a protein shake or a meal or a snack or something, and then fueling every 3-ish to 4-ish hours subsequently to facilitate optimal recovery before you get after it again the next day. If you work out in the afternoon, completely different story. By all means, if you'd want to fast from finishing dinner through the next day at noon because you work out at 11, go for it.
Yeah.
So it's applying the science appropriately to those concepts to help get people where they need to go. To circle back to your question, initially I asked for 2 weeks when people go all in on the membership. So our membership is a lifetime membership, which I think is a pretty big deal. What it means is that not only do we sit down and go in detail through potentially labs and biomarkers and body composition, but you have a custom app that is then built for you, and it's yours forever. So if you decide you're going to up your activity because you're going to, hike Mount Kilimanjaro, or you're going to run your first 5K, or God forbid you get injured so your activity declines, I program in completely different programs for you based on all of those parameters. And then you have the luxury of toggling in between them forever.
Nice.
Also in that software, if you never use it to look at your macros and calories, it's where all of the Catalyst resources and recipes go.
I didn't ask you this pre-show. Is there a demo we can bring up or put on the screen?
There
or,
is, it's on my phone. So maybe after,
Okay.
I'll give you a couple of,
And then we can maybe program them back into the show, Cody, where we can do some post-production and
Yep.
bring up some pictures.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool.
So in the resources section, any new presentations that I have, any new handouts that I have, any new supplement discount codes that I have, I take out the old ones and I populate the new ones, and they just magically appear on your phone. Same thing with the recipes. We have a fabulous meal prep kitchen that is completely open concept, so you can see your food being prepped minute 1 to minute end here in Virginia Beach. But all of the recipes that we use in that kitchen are uploaded to your profile on that membership software. And whenever we add a new item, you get the recipe for that new item. We talked about this before we started. My goal is to train the trainer to go out and do great things. You get a membership, maybe you do a week or two of food, you start to follow your hunger and satiety cues, you start to implement the recipes, you become that LGN 100% look good naked version of yourself. and you go off and you're 100% operational, completely independent. You tell 2 of your friends, those 2 friends, they come and they get a membership. My goal is not to have somebody to use me as a crutch for the rest of their career or their life or whatever it may be. Now, let's say you have a really busy week coming up and you're like, hey, Cheryl, I know you haven't heard from me in 6 months, but can you do all my lunches and dinners for the next 2 weeks? 100%. So that's what is entailed in the lifetime membership, is that we always have your information. We can always add new programs, and then we can always execute those new programs if you reach out to us and say, hey, I actually need some meals for this upcoming, whatever it may be.
That's excellent.
We try. If you're not quite ready to invest in the membership yet, we're starting this new initiative, which is a pre-order program. And basically it lets you give us the sniff test. You know, to your buddy who did his sniff test and knew it was a scotch and not a bourbon. We have a pre-order program that the meals are obviously not custom because you don't have a membership, but every week we have 4 meals available, and those meals rotate through, and you can order as few or as many of them as you like. And we prep on Thursdays. We cook 2 of those meals fresh, blast chill, portion and plate, and you can either pick them up and deliver on Fridays. And then the other 2 meals we prep on Mondays. We cook, we blast chill, we plate, and are ready for pickup or delivery on Tuesdays. And you get to sample what we have to offer from a food standpoint.
And that's available here in the Hampton Roads Market
Yes.
right now. I know you didn't want to talk about this, but in the future, maybe
Yes.
there's the ability to go
The first
beyond.
thing that we're exploring from a shipping standpoint is the protein collagen pudding. So as far as that is concerned, to your craving piece, I've had many, many clients over the years who want, desire a sweet treat. And we live in the realm of reality. Like I program people's meals. If somebody tells me, Cheryl, I must absolutely have a glass of wine every single night, I'm going to put it in there because life is worth living. I 100% am on board with that. Obviously not in excess all of the time. But with this protein collagen pudding, we formulated it to have a balanced macronutrient ratio. So it has 20 grams of protein, 20 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat for about 250 calories a serving, which is 4 ounces. We have 3 flavors. 2 are staples. The almond butter chocolate, which is made with organic whole milk, and the almond butter vanilla caramel are our staples. And then for those who are feeling a little basic, every fall we do a pumpkin spice.
Cody, did you hear that?
So yes, and those are also available at our kitchen, and they are also part of the pre-order program, so you can order any of those 3 for the Friday or the Tuesday. And orders for our pre-order program are due every Tuesday by 3 p.m. from our website.
One of the things I learned from you was you can have the opportunity to treat yourself. I used to call it cheat days, and you corrected me. And so why don't you think about it more like treat days than cheat days? Mm-hmm. That if you want to have some chunky monkey, or if you want to eat a whole pizza on a Saturday, what did you do Monday through Friday to treat yourself to that indulgence? Mm-hmm. Do you still subscribe to that? Do you?
100%.
Personally, is that something you do too? Do you
Absolutely
break protocol?
I am a sucker, being from New Jersey, I'm a sucker for a really good cheeseburger or a really good pizza. Nice. And I can still eat a whole pizza. Here or there. So yes, the cheat or treat concept. I encourage all of my clients to put in 2 a week. They're meals, not days. When I worked with collegiate athletes, they were days because of the expenditure.
Right.
I started working with Naval Special Warfare, and I realized the damage that metabolically could be done in a 24-hour window. And I was like, no more days. You guys get meals. So the guidelines for meals are, if you're being strict, you should still absolutely put in 2 per week. The rule is that they can't be back to back. So if you're going out and having some drinks on Friday night, it should not be pancakes and waffles for breakfast. You can go out Friday night, drink some pizza or drink some burrito, but then save the pancakes and waffles for Sunday, get your metabolism back on track all day Saturday. If you're being more liberal, you get 4 treats or cheats a week, which is what I encourage from Halloween through the first of the year. But plan them,
Yeah.
like make them intentional. If you want to go and take whatever, Aunt Bessie's fabulous pecan pie and go sit in a back bedroom and watch the game with a fork, go for it, but count that as one of your cheats and treats and go on about your life.
Yeah.
What's most important, in the words of Ted Lasso, are have the memory of a goldfish. Don't, oh, well, I'm not going to eat lunch because I'm going to go do this at dinner, and oh, I'm going to skip breakfast. You are doing much more metabolic damage by skipping or trying to do what I call bad math, trying to subtract out, well, I did, my device says that I burned this during my workout, so I
Yeah.
can go do this over here. And that's one of the reasons that the nutrition of that 100% is 30, fueling, versus the movement piece is 10.
Yeah. Explain, and I'm going to have to go back to some of my my math and science days, and admittedly, it's probably still at a 5th grade level. So, take me into understanding a calorie. So, calorie being right, heat, right?
So they're technically kilocalories.
Okay.
They can be expressed in joules, so heat, yes. It is a measure, so 5th to 7th grade science, matter cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be changed. So when you ingest, let's say a banana goes into your gastrointestinal tract, enzymes, stomach acids, etc., break it down. Your gastrointestinal tract starts to release heat. It's called the thermic effect of food, because to change banana into carbohydrates, all forms of energy, heat has to be given off.
Got to cook it.
You got to, yes, convert it, 100%. And then those carbohydrates get broken down into calories, which are fuel, energy, 100%. So calories, in my opinion, they get a bad rap because we as humans, we like concepts to fit into these nice, clean boxes. So we're like, ooh, 100 calories, good, 500 calories, bad. And it's like, the only thing that label, whatever, is saying is that when you ingest this food, your body can potentially generate 100 pieces of energy from this versus 500 pieces of energy from this. So the question doesn't necessarily make one good versus bad. The question should more be, if this is the only thing that I'm going to eat, when is my next fueling opportunity? If you just want, a couple squares of chocolate because you're going to eat dinner in 20 minutes, go for the 100 calorie pieces of energy deal, totally fine. But if you're not going to eat for 3 or 4 more hours, what happens with 100 calories is then you go back and you have 3 or 4 more squares, and you have 3 or 4 more squares, and that 100, 200, 300. So if you know that you're not eating for a substantial period of time, consume the greater number of pieces of energy, especially if whatever is in said item has both carbs and some protein and some fat and some fiber, because that's going to keep your blood sugar and therefore ability to focus and energy levels nice and even throughout the day.
And what about this? Water.
So underrated. Water and fiber, they kind of go hand in hand in the underrated category as far as the elephant in the room. Most clients who sit down with me say, I'm tired, I have brain fog, I have chronic aches and pains, and I'm irritable. And one of my first questions is, how much fluid do you consume? And I can actually see the enthusiasm drain. Yep, every time. Every time. Inevitably somebody takes a sip.
Psychology.
Because they want me to give them the latest diet, the latest supplement, the flashy, sexy, whatever it is. Well, the first 4 signs and symptoms of dehydration are fatigue, brain fog, irritability, and chronic aches and pains. So to start, it would be optimal if you got somewhere between half of your body weight in pounds to 100% of your body weight in pounds in ounces of fluid per day. You can get away with the lesser the more time you spend in a climate-controlled environment where you're not having as much gas exchange between sweat leaving your skin and the air around you, versus if you're going out and you're getting after it and you're sweating and you're having more gas exchange, fluid loss in the air around you, then you want to be closer to that 1 ounce per pound of total body weight.
So
And
this
foods
gets
count.
off.
Like watermelon counts,
Yeah.
chilies count. It all counts.
Oh yeah, watermelon is like for me, it's almost like taking Tylenol. Like I can tell when I've had not enough fluids, I'll get a headache. But watermelon's like a cure-all for me. Like if I come and have a long day and there's diced up watermelon,
Yep.
if I consume a handful of that, it's like magic for
So
me.
there was an athlete that you brought up earlier who one of his chronic issues was headaches.
Mr. Percy?
Mm.
Yeah, I remember.
So we've now come full circle. And you just advocated for the hydration concept.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of where his headaches came from, huh? Just he was
I mean, I would
Science,
venture to
yeah.
guess it was a big part of it.
yeah.
But because he wasn't ready to make changes.
Well, I'm gonna try to get Percy on the show and go.
Oh,
Do you remember Cheryl?
it's gonna be like she was mean. Everybody says she's so mean. I am mean. It's fine.
You're not mean.
I'm good with it. I'm honest.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Honesty in an environment where it requires you to either identify with what you're saying and go, oh, I received that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to do something about it. Or honesty can be, oh, man, I don't like that you're reminding me that I am not following through with being the best me possible.
Yes.
So they deflect. Human beings deflect. I don't want to take responsibility. So, Cheryl, you're mean now because you made me realize things that I needed to do better.
And
I
that's
never identified you as mean, though.
Oh,
I
thank you.
identified you as a person who was the antithesis of my diet habits, like Chunky Monkey. And so, like, this woman's going to tell me not to eat any ice cream. I'm not going to go talk to her. So,
And
avoidance, maybe.
I'll be honest. That's one of the beautiful things about being a practitioner is I am not for everybody. And a dietitian who is a wonderful, fabulous friend of mine may be the absolute right fit for you. So it's one of the
I love that. I tell people in my personal financial practice, I'm not a good fit for everybody.
Absolutely not. And initially, as a young practitioner, I kind of felt like I tried very hard to always, and to this day, to be fair, I do always meet clients where they are because it helps foster that motivation for change.
Sure.
So even if somebody comes in with very tight parameters of what they want to do, I am going to help them execute it to the best of my ability, according to the scientific literature, to get them as close to that 100% of their LGN that they can possibly be. At the same time, they may decide that the way that I educate and share information and style of practice is not for them as a human. As a young practitioner, that would kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. It doesn't anymore, which is part of the reason that I've worked in collegiate athletics. I've worked with Naval Special Warfare. Like, there are certain pockets of the population that receive honesty and transparency very well.
Yeah.
And the same is true with individuals.
Yeah.
So it's the traditional, it's not you, it's me.
Right.
And that's okay, because then I can refer them to somebody who is equally as fabulous in a different way.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's, Cody, why don't you bring up Cheryl's website?
This is our kitchen, our meal prep kitchen on Laskin Road.
So cool looking. It's very clean.
Yes, I have a lot of attention to detail. These are some of my other podcast adventures.
That's awesome. Yeah, we were talking pre-show. You were on with Bear
Yes,
of Born Primitive.
yes. These are some of the
very
examples
fit
of our
guy.
meals.
Does Bear prescribed to eating your meals?
Bear is a frequent flyer of Catalyst, yes.
That's awesome. Wow, those look delicious.
We are getting away from the black plastic to a corn-based 3-compartment container. So that is one of our new initiatives.
And to that point, sometimes you have to not, we use the old churchy thing. We don't want to be a part of the world, but we have to live in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to make things available for people in a certain expedient way, you got to use things that may not be ideal.
Yes, and when we first started the kitchen in December of 2021, every single compostable and environmentally friendly container, I would put our pizza chili or marinara in, and it would soak all the way through in a refrigerator in 12 to 24 hours.
Wow.
So it's on my every 6-month re-investigate and re-research list, and I think as of 2 months ago, we found something that will hold and not leak through.
And what are you using now, you said?
So it has been black plastic. It's BPA free. It is top shelf dishwasher and microwave safe, to be transparent. The brand that we use, but I still would like to get away from black plastic.
But you said earlier something about a corn-based.
Yeah, so we're switching to a corn-based 3-compartment container.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
But you can't eat it.
I mean, I'm sure it's full of a lot of fiber. I wouldn't eat it, but you could.
That's funny. All right, so tell us about. There's a lot of color on these plates too, by the way.
A lot of color, a lot of polyphenols, so color indicates micronutrients.
Okay, which do
existence. What? So all of your vitamins and minerals that help turn banana into carbohydrates and potassium and all of its other subsequent vitamins and minerals. So all of the cogs that turn energy processing in your system are in the different colors.
Okay.
So orange, as a great example, butternut squash, carrots, great for beta carotene and vitamin A, night vision in particular. Red, strawberries, watermelon, red bell peppers from a lycopene standpoint, prostate health, especially obviously in males. Green, vitamin C, antioxidants. So yes, we pride ourselves on colors, variety. People eat with their eyes. Unfortunately, like I said, most of the time their plates that they construct are white, yellow, brown, tan.
Right.
We're a little different. We're in the help me help you game. So that's what we do.
I notice a lot that you will use blueberries, strawberries. What are there fruits that are like, if you could choose, say, eat this fruit, not this fruit? Are there any categories for you like that as a nutritionist?
So from a fiber, antioxidant, and polyphenol standpoint, the reds, blues, and purples are at the top of the charts right now, which is why they will say like tart cherries are superfoods.
What do you mean right now? Why do you say it that way?
So, because as humans, when we learn new things in scientific literature, we then advocate for foods that are super. They've always been super. But because we just learned about it, we advertise them as super. So that's why I say right now, because I can only give you the information that I am aware of at this current moment. So one, I'm a human, I'm fallible, I can't keep all of the literature all of the time.
I love that, right?
And two, we're going to learn more things over time. It's just like technology. Like right now, they have these fabulous CGMs, continuous glucose monitors, that are a soft sensor that you can put underneath your skin, and it will actually tell you how your body responds to eating foods from a carbohydrate management standpoint.
Yeah. I see a lot of people wearing those now.
Yes.
And they're just really dialed into.
So that's one way for a person to learn on their own without necessarily needing someone like me or wanting somebody like me. But we could also use that together. And I've actually had a dozen or so clients who have worn and do wear CGMs, and they start eating our food and they're like, Cheryl, it doesn't throw it outside of the parameters. Even the pudding. I swore that the pudding would do it. The pudding doesn't do it. And I'm like, I know the pudding has balanced macros. I know, but it's so good. I'm like, good food is good for you and it tastes good.
Right.
I wouldn't want to eat cardboard for the rest of my life. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to eat the containers, you can. I will not be eating the new corn-based containers.
I won't eat. I'll take your word for it. So when you're working through, these look really familiar, like, my breakfast may look like, or what
There's your
a
almond
lunch
butter
plate.
oatmeal.
Yes,
There it is.
I see it. I love it. That, folks, that is, she could have fed me that 4 times a day. Probably wouldn't advise doing that, but
You need a little more variety.
yeah. Now, there was some Instagram stuff going around for a while that oatmeal was like, would spike your blood sugar like a bowl of cereal. And help me understand what all the
Yes.
naysayers, or bananas are horrible for you.
So that goes full circle with your are some fruits better than other fruits? I keep referring to pairings. So if you eat a piece of white bread by itself, your blood sugar is going to go up really high and then come back down. Same thing is true if you eat a banana by itself. It won't go up as high as a piece of white bread by. So that's the glycemic index. That's the response of your blood sugar to a food when consumed alone. When you pair, and you pair a carbohydrate with protein, with fat, with fiber, how quickly it gets broken into sugar and glucose in your system, it becomes more of a curve that stays a little lower and lasts a little longer, which is that sustained energy piece that you and I have been alluding to. So that's what those CGMs are telling people.
I've been getting it right all along, Cheryl.
Yes, if you
My chunky monkey?
continuously eat chunky monkey all day, your blood
Banana?
sugars will stay.
Bananas, walnuts, and dark chocolate.
It's all in there.
It's, man.
And dark chocolate has antioxidants.
And I got all my
and magnesium and zinc.
my dairy.
Yes. Your
And a little bit of
your,
sugar.
Your casein, absolutely.
Yes, all right. All right. So if you have a guy like me, I'm back in pushing 250, and you're saying, okay, Kenny, you've got we do a DEXA scan, and you look at my compositions of fat, bone density, muscle.
Or it can be an in-body.
Okay.
Or it can be one of the new fancy bathroom scales. What's important about body composition is it consistent? So it doesn't necessarily have to be the Rolls-Royce of assessments
Okay.
or the Bentley of assessments if you do it under the same conditions consistently. So there's all of these $200, $150, $200 in-home scales that work similar bioelectrical impedance, like an in-body, that will tell you how much of you is muscle, how much of you is bone, how much of you is fat. Whether or not it's 100% accurate, maybe here or there, as long as you stand on it under the same conditions repeatedly, because all you're doing is tracking the trends.
Got it.
Are you leaning out? Are you not leaning out? That's the information that you need. Whether or not it's a half a pound here and a half a pound there, unless you're some very, very elite entity, you want to track the trends over time. And the same thing is true with your movement. If you're using a movement app or a health app on your phone, same thing with sleep. Whether or not you get 9 minutes or 11 minutes of REM or deep a night, there's a margin of error in those algorithms because they're human-made. CGMs and blood sugar sticks, they have a margin of error. So it's not necessarily the exact number, absolute value every single day. But if your REM sleep is going from 11 minutes to 15 minutes to 20 minutes to 45 minutes, you are trending in the right direction. And that's the most valuable piece of information. Wow. So I'm sorry for...
No, it's okay. And what I want to get to here is, what you're doing now with your meal plans, that you're not just serving this one elite community now. You're going out to the community at large and saying, hey, pay attention to what you're putting in your body. If you want to live longer, here's the science that says if you eat this way, you have a higher probability of living longer. And it's not just about living longer. It's,
yes, there it is.
Yeah. So living
independently.
Vibrantly.
Yes.
Right. So some of the things that you're talking about here locally is that you're sourcing your meat. So you're going to local businesses in Hampton Roads.
Yes.
So locally sourced flank steak, beef chunk. Why flank steak? Why beef chunk?
So we do a pulled beef. So it's either chuck or shoulder. We use flank steak. Because there are so many meal prep companies out there, we do want to follow the best standards from a purveyor and sustainability standpoint in our food. However, like everyone else, you have to, what is a realistic price point for these meals within the local community and environment? We could absolutely use sirloin and filet, and we could use those things, but the price point of our
ribeyes.
meals, right, would be much higher. So that's why we're using chuck and shoulder and flank as our cuts of meat currently, so that we can keep our meal prices consistent throughout.
Now, if you have a person who says, "Hey, I want to go off the reservation and do something a little different," can you
Absolutely.
do that?
That's the beauty of being a small business and everything being custom.
Okay.
And to that point, everything in our kitchen, our meals, because our protein collagen pudding does have organic whole milk in it, but all of our meals are dairy, gluten, soy, and peanut free. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. Yes, we do source all of our beef locally. We either use coastal cattle down in Pungo if their yield from their last processing isn't high enough. We have a lovely relationship with 22 Wagyu out in Jackson Hole, so they will ship us Wagyu as well. So we alternate between those two things based on availability. Our chicken is all organic. All of our poultry is organic. All of our vegetables, we follow the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen from the Environmental Working Group. So when in season, we get as many of the Dirty Dozen organically as we possibly can. We do rinse and wash all of our vegetables before chopping, cutting, serving, etc. One of the other things that makes us stand out is we take the bones from our chicken and from our beef, and we put them in slow cookers with a mirepoix and a seasoning blend that does include turmeric, so curcumin as a natural anti-inflammatory, and we slow roast them for at least 24 hours before we strain them and drain them, and then we cook all of our quinoa, we cook all of our rice in those different bone broth components, and then we use those in-house bone broth components to also cook our chicken pot pie and our shepherd's pie and add au jus. Yeah, so like we're taking the extra steps to make sure that, so to your point about the oatmeal earlier, why would oatmeal spike somebody's blood sugar? Well, if you make your oatmeal in water and add nothing to it, yes, it does contain fiber and a little bit of protein, but it's primarily a carbohydrate. So we cook because we're not using milk, we do cook our oats in an almond milk, and then we add almond butter to it, which adds the fat, the protein, the fiber, so that it has a more balanced blood sugar regulation.
All right. So I was seeing stuff on Instasham that almond milk was bad. What's that about?
So we Americans are one of the few societies that consume another animal's breast milk into adulthood. Give or take.
Guilty.
The statistic varies, but about half of the population has some sort of sensitivity or inflammatory response to cow's milk. There are 3 components in cow's milk that somebody could have issue with. So it could be the casein, it could be the whey, it could be the lactose. Therefore, milk alternatives came on the scene. Again, a food becomes super because we figured it out. People can't have milk. We need an alternative. So now we're milking almonds, yes, or cashews or whatever. Can you milk me, Greg? Sort of a deal. When those foods are processed and you try to get them to become shelf stable, you have to add gums and preservatives, which make them less which adds a component to them that may not be optimal for human absorption and digestion.
Okay.
So it's just like any other food. If you love dairy and dairy loves you back, consume dairy. It has 9 essential vitamins and minerals. It has a great profile of carbohydrates to fats to protein, especially if you buy whole milk dairy to keep your blood sugar nice and even. So if you got a good thing, don't fight with it. But if dairy makes your skin break out, gives you gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, bubble guts, any of those things, it means though you love that food does not love you back. And if you experience those symptoms, there's also an inflammatory response happening inside you. So as an alternative, there's nothing wrong with consuming some almond milk or a milk alternative, but when you turn it around, it should say water, almonds, salt. That's it.
And not all of them do.
Not all of them do. Not all foods are created the same.
What other kind of super healthy foods or additives do you suggest staying away from or reading the label?
If you are meal prepping yourself for your family and you have your grocery list, so your frequent flyers, I would strongly recommend you do an ingredient list once over on everything on that list. It doesn't all have to be the same visit, but maybe this time you look at so for starters, if you go into the grocery store, the majority of what you're buying should be on the perimeter. So it doesn't even need a label. You know that this is a breast of chicken. You know that this is a sweet potato. You know that this is a crown of broccoli. No reading required, 5th grade level or not. Anything that you are getting from the inside of the grocery store, one, should be the minority of what's on your shopping list to begin with. But if you are buying some of those items and you buy them every single week and you're consuming them on a pretty consistent basis, it should be something that you can pick up and look at the ingredient list, and you could picture everything on your countertop as if you were going to bake it or make it yourself from scratch, or a loved one was going to bake it or make it from scratch for you. As soon as you have to start sounding things out, it's okay if you have that food as a cheat or treat every now and again, but it shouldn't be something that you're consuming every single day or multiple times a day. And I think people do that a lot, especially with bars. Anything that's been processed by humankind typically has additives and preservatives in it. And if the only additives and preservatives were salt or sugar, we could program plates around those. But because we get so, for lack of a better word, chemical in the additives, preservatives, colors, dyes, and things fall into the grass generally recognized as safe. That phrase in and of itself should raise a red flag. Generally recognized as safe. And they go into our food systems. Those are the things that I would definitely try to keep at a minimum from a consumption standpoint if you can help it.
So sugar is what I've heard. I won't claim to be highly educated on this, so I'm going to ask the nutritionist, is the culprit of high inflammation, maybe body inflation. So inflammation, sugar is usually the culprit. Is that accurate?
So to the point you brought up earlier, everybody's a little bit different. So I have worked with individuals who swear by a more animal protein based, whether you want to call it carnivore or you want to call it keto or you want to call it low carb, that camp. Then I have some individuals that are vegan and vegetarian, extremely plant-based. The way that people eat is kind of like a cult to them. If it worked for them, they swear by it. And if you're not doing it the exact way that they did it, then your values are too different and you can't be friends.
Yeah.
So to your point, it's not one size fits all. So if I have someone who is eating predominantly plant-based, a lot of their diet is going to be carbohydrates, which when you break down a banana, it becomes glucose. Glucose is synonymous with the word sugar, even though when it comes up on the morning news or you're reading it in an article, they're more talking about added sugar like sucrose, not necessarily blood sugar, meaning synonymous with glucose. So there becomes this semantics conversation.
Yeah.
So a whole food source paired well with a fiber and some healthy fats, not necessarily going to do harm versus, yeah, you're snorting pixie sticks like they're going out of style. Probably not the best for you. And then on the opposite side of the fence, if all you're doing is eating animal-based proteins and nothing else, are you in fact getting enough vitamins, minerals, fiber? And that's where that biomarker piece comes in. I don't pretend to conjure what is right for someone, which is why I like to see, let's look at your biomarkers. Let's look at your blood work.
I'm sure over the years, Cheryl, you've probably seen, especially with guys in the teams who will try all kinds of fads to get the edge. But when you look at blood work of a guy who's or gal who's carnivore versus someone who's vegan, what has been your experience? What have you found? Have there been micronutrients, or has there been blood work where you can go, I can tell. If you didn't tell me this guy's probably a carnivore and this dude was a vegan, Can you get that?
So there are definitely
Scientific with
some
it?
trends. Yes. However, just like eating a little bit of everything, there are better ways to execute keto and carnivore, and there are better and more optimal ways to execute vegetarianism and veganism. So poor execution of either is where differences in biomarkers are going to become visible.
Okay. I got off subject from your new meal plan here. What are you looking for in the client today? So, old Catalyst Nutrition was really serving the special warfare community. I think you said about 85% of your client base. You've opened that up now. So who would be an ideal person for you to help?
Anyone who is curious about what optimal could feel like for them. And one of the reasons that that's exciting is because there's so much information available to people. And optimal for one person can be getting their blood pressure under control. Optimal for another person can be getting their lipids down. Optimal for someone maybe they need to lean out a little bit. Optimal for the next person may need to be, I need to put on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle because I'm falling, I'm feeling weak, I have low bone mineral density. So more puzzles, which is the reason that I got into this business in the first place. And even in the population that I worked with before, the majority of the feedback wasn't always about the DEXA scan or the body composition. And it wasn't always about the way that they felt during training evolutions. The majority of the feedback that I would get from clients was, I feel like $1 million in the middle of the afternoon now instead of being so angry and just wanting to go take a nap. Or my wife is your new best friend because I'm a much happier person when I walk in the door at the end of the day. Or I was maybe averaging 2 to 3 hours of sleep before I started working with you, and now I'm averaging 6 to 7, and my hormone levels have rebounded tremendously because the way that I'm fueling and the way that I'm sleeping is so much better than it was before. So that's one of the things that I have realized is that I was always optimizing the human element of the person. They just happen to be of a genre.
Yeah.
And now we are optimizing the human element of all of the humans if you want to come and check us out and see what we're about.
Hey, Cody, can you bring her site back up? Because if you want to check out Cheryl, I would highly recommend it. Personally, would recommend it. You can go to her website at Catalyst with a Z, CATALYZ, nutrition.com.
You can come see us. We're at 993 Laskin Road. We're between Swell Cycle Bar and the pub across from Bay Local and the Heritage Market.
Yep. By where the old theater used to be, right?
Correct. 2 buildings over.
Yeah.
And we do offer grab-and-go meals. We do offer our protein collagen puddings in store. So there are some, in addition to, we offer fresh signature gourmet salads every day that you can walk in, or you can build your own. And we have any of the fresh entrees from a protein standpoint that we're building for our meal clients that day are also available to add to the salads.
Do you do any classes or like group classes or group
Yes.
events?
We offer nutrition education, whether it is corporate and executive. We offer team talks if you have young athletic teams, grammar school, high school, collegiate, intercollegiate, semi-pro and pro. We also do cooking classes. And some of the series that I have, the 3 primary that I offer, though we can customize it any way that someone wants. The first one is the anti-inflammatory presentation, which basically teaches people plate construction for them based on their specific activity level. The second one is actually analyzing biomarkers, what they mean, what they do, why they're valuable, and how you can manipulate them with diet, lifestyle, and exercise. And then the third one is supplements, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And then which ones may be beneficial for you and which ones may just be snake oil.
So you're so cognitively sharp right now that you read my mind for the next question. I'm just going to go into supplements and go, because in the program we went through together, and where you were coaching me and helping me and other veterans understand, what supplements you should put in your body and which ones you should stay away from. How about those green powders that are out there right now? I don't want to name one specifically, but like you're not getting enough greens in your diet, so you mix it up in a drink. Or are those worth putting in your body, or can you give examples of what's good, what's bad?
Absolutely. So for starters, I am a food first dietitian, so I'm always going to try to get someone to eat what they need. If they need something in addition to that, or if I have a client, again, meet them where they are, that's like, Cheryl, green things do not pass my lips. That's just, unless it's a green Skittle, it's not going to happen. I'm like, okay. So then, yes, we compromise. And whether it's a multivitamin or a greens powder, liquid genre supplement, the first thing, no matter what, with a supplement that we want to look for is it third party tested?
Okay.
And those, happy to field questions via email if people want to ask me about specific products or get some of my resources that explain all of those things. But the supplement industry is not regulated like foods. So just because it hits the shelf, it doesn't mean that anyone has looked at it or reviewed it to make sure that what's in the container is in fact disclosed on the label, or no one has looked at it to whatever is disclosed on the label, whether or not it is or is not in fact inside the container.
Yeah.
So you could be paying for $40 baking soda or $40 arsenic
Yeah.
and not even know it. So that huge buyer beware aside, then yes, if you're not going to eat it in a food, then we will potentially look for it in a supplement. And again, that's where blood work plays a large part, because if someone is eating really well, but they're still having some malabsorption issues, and you brought up protein as an example earlier, that's where various supplementation can augment what is getting consumed from a dietary standpoint.
In your professional opinion, as a dietitian and nutritionist, can a person correct type 2 diabetes with diet?
It depends on whether or not your pancreas is still producing any insulin at all.
So if you've crashed it, killed it,
If it's producing nothing, to my knowledge, the pancreas cannot completely regenerate itself to the point of producing 100% appropriate insulin based on a roller coaster of the normal human diet, whatever you want to throw into that umbrella. If there is still some function left, then you can determine, again, CGM is a great way to start, what the amount of carbohydrate is that you can consume that the pancreas can still handle, either with the assistance of things like metformin and other insulin-like and insulin-sustaining products in conjunction, or you can work it through and determine what your pancreas can handle without the prescription supplementation.
so in an ideal world, you would try to approach it with food being the medicine first.
I would do food first. I do believe that food is medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I've seen it work in my own body, so
And
I can attest to that.
I have had clients come in with hemoglobin A1Cs of 8 when it should be,
Under 7, right?
They say it should be less than 6. I think
Less
it should
than
be in the mid-5s. But
Oh, God.
again,
Thanks again. God, I'm so screwed when I talk to you.
well, help me help you.
Okay. All right.
But yes, so I have actually had clients come in those areas, and then we balance out their diet a little, and their body responds. Their hemoglobin levels adjust.
What do you think about, like, when dudes like me, in complete transparency, I do a TRT program. But fan, not a fan? Is there food that you can change your testosterone levels just through diet, or is it just a part of aging that, hey, you probably, like my doc is saying it's an optimal thing to be very high with your scores of my T score to be way high versus it being scary. From a nutritional point of view, can men and women in general who need higher testosterone, can you raise that with a proper diet?
Couple ways to address this. Number one, is this person sleeping?
So we're back to sleep.
We're back to sleep. Fancy how that works. In your REM and deeper phases of sleep is when your body does it the majority of its recovering, switching out of a catabolic into an anabolic state, and has the largest pulse releases of hormones, including testosterone, insulin-like growth factor 1, etc., that entire cascade. REM and deeper phases of sleep. So sleeping for an optimal amount of time with an optimal amount of REM and deep sleep, that is going to be the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to if somebody's testosterone and hormone levels are not where they used to be or they want them to be, etc. There are hormone promoting foods for sure, but the hormone promoting foods and precursors are not going to make as big of an impact as optimizing sleep is. And then, yes, you are right. Aging isn't kind to anybody, and we all have changes. Women is a different topic, but definitely something that I can address if clients are interested. But testosterone production in males deteriorates per year of life once you're, mid to late 30s, et cetera. So how to optimize that? One, assistance may be necessary, whether it's testosterone in and of itself or some of the precursors to help the body manifest what it should on its own.
Yeah.
And then checking consistently to make sure that the amount that you are taking remains the correct amount. Again, we talked about it in terms of calories before. Some people think if deficit is good, then more deficit is better.
Right.
Opposite is true with testosterone. People think if some is good, then more is better, and there are negative side effects as far as iron retention, inappropriate and overactive red blood cells and things like that. And sometimes if you have a practitioner who only knows a little, they say, oh, we'll just go give blood. And it's like, well, if we have 2 or 3 metrics on the blood side that are elevated based on this level of hormone therapy, who's to say that there's not some underlying things that we're not testing that bloodletting isn't going to fix,
Right.
versus actually adjusting the dose? So not my swim lane per se,
Yeah.
but the sleep piece and the nutrition piece have a very strong tie-in, and having worked with a lot of males throughout my career, I know more than, say,
Yeah.
I did 20 years ago about hormone production and management.
And the interesting thing is that if you're not going to work on those two, the synthetic fix is only going to be temporary anyway, right? Sooner or later, your body's just going to break because 2/3 of what should have been making that perfect combo or trifecta attack is not there.
Yeah. If there was a magic pill or an easy button for hydrating and nutrition, I would be handing them out like Tic Tacs.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no easy button.
There is no easy button.
And that's why Chunky Monkey is just not going to work long term, right?
Cheats and treats.
Yeah.
There's room for it.
There's a great book that I've told friends from a psychology point of view that has a massive effect on our diets and everything else in our life. This guy's name's Jeff Olson. It's called The Slight Edge.
Okay.
And in The Slight Edge, he talks about this life's journey that is what's easy to do is also easy not to do. And he says, hey, like a cheeseburger once a week as your treat, maybe not so bad. But a cheeseburger every day, that's really easy to do. It's convenient, it's fast, and it tastes great.
Cost effective.
All the endorphins. Yeah, cost effective. But the next thing you know, 10 years down the road, you're 30 pounds heavier. Your cholesterol's through the roof. All your blood work says you're in for a sharp decline later. But the interesting thing is the person who takes that other path, that, they commit to something hard and they do it for a long period of time of saying, well, nope, the cheeseburger's once a week. That's hard to do today, but the reward comes later. Have you seen a person like with that slight edge mindset that you've been working with for years where you can kind of mentally go check off a person, go, man, that person has stayed consistent in their food habits and their diet habits, their nutrition, their sleep, their water. And you could identify that person as being their best version of themselves. And what makes them different? Is it just the discipline, or is it that's what I'm always trying to figure out. There are some people who just have the genes to be lean and thin, like talking about my friend Lou, our friend Lou. You know, genetically that guy's super lean, super thin, can eat horribly, and then
Milkshakes.
and then turn it on, and he can be very disciplined. The switch of a light switch. Is there anything that you can say that can help a person be more habitual, be more purposeful about their diet? Any tips?
So I think this falls more into the category of reaching state of motivation for change if it's not intrinsic. Like as you mentioned, there are some people who it's the only way they know. It's the way. Like there are no left and right parameters.
Right.
Sometimes it's how they were raised, sometimes it's where they were raised, sometimes it's they associate positive memories with that lifestyle. And one of the other things, you're talking about it from the food perspective is, and full circle once again, the people who tend to be consistent from a dietary standpoint also tend to be the people who prioritize movement. Some prioritize sleep. So again, it goes back to that we can't really tease out only the nutrition variable, and this is why doing actual scientific research is so hard. Because if you're pretty dialed in one capacity, you're more than likely to be similarly dialed in other capacities, and therefore you can't exclusively attribute something to that one thing.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with what fuels their motivation for change.
Yeah.
Some people will go their whole lives and not want to change a thing. Some people will have some major life events, whether it's a diagnosis of themselves, a diagnosis of a loved one, and they realize, I don't want to become that. Mm-hmm. Or they grew up with someone who did lead by example, and they said, I do want to become that. So it all kind of goes back to what motivates you for change. If motivation for change is to look good in a bikini 2 sizes smaller or a bathing suit, whatever, that typically will last a week or two right before you go on vacation, the trip, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then the minute that you're on the trip or back from the trip, it all falls apart.
Yeah.
So it has
the
to
minute
be,
you put your clothes back on, you're like, I don't look so
and
bad.
it's winter right now. It's time for layers. So yes, it has to be tied to something that is deeper than just a number on a scale or a size of jeans in the closet.
I don't know. I've always heard economics is the mad science. I got to say that nutrition may be a close second, if not first, because I know for me, I've got disciplines in my life, but my food discipline sucks. And people go, well, can't you apply those same disciplines you do to these other? I'm like, it's weird. It's weird for me. I have this fascination with food and ice cream. And so it is to that point of we live in a society today where what I've read is that my children's generation could be the first generation to not live as long as their parents, or maybe even outlive their parents, because of the diet of our young people today. Energy drinks and processed chips.
Yeah, it is very much a culture of convenience. And everything can get delivered to your front door.
Right.
In an hour.
Right. And so that's what you're competing with long term, right, is to be able to provide a product that's convenient enough to be still healthy, nutritious, and allow a person to fuel themselves appropriately.
That brings up a really good point, though. So whether, insert delivery service here, favorite, by the time, because cost ends up being a really big conversation that I have with a lot of people. And I say, well, you can order from your favorite restaurant that the food is $12, $10. But by the time you tack on the service fee, the delivery fee, and all of those other things, that meal, and people do this every single day. They do this every single night. Like by the time you add all of that up, if you ordered meals from us that we made, chilled, and served to you fresh on Fridays and fresh on Tuesdays, you would actually pay less for food using our services than you would using their services.
Yeah.
But people only see the dollar sign next to the item, and they're just like, oh, all those things just...
It's funny you say that. 100% across the board, I can say this with extreme confidence. My client base, number one expense, eating out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Across the board.
Food costs are crazy.
Yeah. And the convenience of it, people are just like, even retirees, they're just like, they get to the end of the day, they made breakfast at home, they made lunch at home. And usually they're like, okay, let's just go to dinner tonight. Kat, my wife, a lot of times would just be like, the last thing I want to do is pull out another pot or pan
and have to clean.
And clean again. Cook it and clean it. And not that I don't help in that, but, more often that's kind of the duty she has taken in our family. And it's a lot. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot to do. So you're bringing a solution to that and a solution to eating better. So a person, they can do it 1 meal a week, or they could do it 6 meals a week.
Correct.
Or 6 meals a day. So most people, and again, I know there's not like a one size fits all. The program I went through, we were eating 3 meals with snacks in between breakfast, lunch, dinner. Is that still kind of the recommended prescription of eating in your meal plans?
So it depends on where your activity goes. Those 2 snacks were recovery snacks because you had 2 workouts in a day.
Yeah.
So if someone works out first thing in the morning and then they prefer to eat breakfast right after that, then they may only need breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some people's hunger and satiety cues in combination with I'm bored at 3 in the afternoon and I need a something.
Right.
So we may do breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. Some people's proclivities say I need something after dinner, even something small. So it may be breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. I do have some people that partake in time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting, and they only get 2 meals from us, or they may get 2 meals with a snack in the middle or a snack after. So again, if you're a member, it is sky's the limit custom.
You know what's interesting? You're probably going to think I'm an idiot telling you this, but you know what's cut my snacking back? My Invisalign. I went to the dentist and I had to put this contraption in my mouth for 40 weeks. I've noticed my desire to snack because I'm like, I got to take this stupid thing out of my mouth and then brush my teeth and then put it back in.
So those are actually tricks. If people are like, well, what happens if I don't want to snack or I want to avoid snacking or I don't want to eat whatever their traditional preference snack is? The first one is eat an apple because there are certain pectins in apples that help contribute to you feeling satiated, satisfied. And the other one is brushing your teeth. Because if your mouth is clean, you typically don't want to put a bunch of,
That's wild. You're full of information. That's cool.
Can't spell nerd without RD. Here you go.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to share with us today? Anything you're reading out there right now or that you would recommend, or anything where you would point people to other than your website, which is full of information, some great podcast appearances? So spend some time on your website would be my first recommendation. Anything else you would share with folks today who's maybe doing some research about maybe hiring a nutritionist to help them eat better?
If you are local, I would strongly encourage you to stop by and see us, see what some of our food looks like. If you're not ready for a membership or the pre-order, we do have the grab and goes in store. If you want to test us out before the membership, we do have this pre-order option that is available. And then if you are not in the area, I do virtual consulting, and it is the same as all of our membership because the food after the membership is above and beyond. So the in-depth consult, the open-ended question and answer for 4 to 6 weeks, and then a 4 to 6 week, 30-minute follow-up to make sure that everything is going. And then virtual clients get an app, and they just have to plug in their own food and their own meals. If you are not in the Virginia Beach area or you don't think that I am quite the right fit for you, there is an organization called SCAN, Sports Cardiovascular and Wellness Dietitians. So you can go on their site and you can put in your zip code, and it will give you some scan registered dietitians that are in your geographical area if you want to meet somebody
Nice.
face to face.
Okay. As always, getting information from someone that I love to love. You're awesome.
True friends.
Yep. Thank you for coming back on the show, and I'm really excited for you and hope I can help you navigate this to the next level like you did for the first 9-10 years of your practice here in Hampton Roads. The only thing I dislike about you is that you're a Gator, but I'm going to try to look past that.
It's okay.
Oh, because I have this amazing team, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels, and we do have Bill Belichick.
Yes.
But that's all we have.
It's okay.
Right now.
It's a solid foundational building block.
We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Gators
Cheryl.
aren't doing very well this year anyway in the football genre. So
And we'll see what happens here in November with basketball. But
we will.
yeah.
Always a pleasure. I genuinely appreciate your time and your company.
Yes, thank you. Great seeing you.
You too.
Take care.
Wherever you're ready to speed to 180.
Blackbox.